G'day folks, Duckville here. I've got a ZvP coming up for you today. It's taken from the replay pack of our Red Zerg player down here at the bottom right hand side from Team Clarity Gaming. It is Reborn. And he will be facing off against a very well-known Protoss player up at the top left-hand side who, well, apparently this was done at around about the time that Shoutcraft was on. It is, of course, from Root Gaming, Minigun. Now, both of these players, of course, well qualified, high-level players in the StarCraft 2 NA scene in particular, and, you know, I'm sure you've been able to watch a bit of Minigun stream over on, where is it? I think it's at Root Minigun on Twitch. And for Reborn, he's got his own stream as well. You can catch it at twitch.tv/Reborn and then a 3 on the end, where you can see a little bit of his Zergy kind of play. We'll see what he gets up to here in this particular matchup. Of course, being that this is a slightly older replay, this is on Belshir Vestige, which is a bit of an older map. So we will have some of the strategies that was... you know, utilized on this map. Of course, it was recently taken out of the map pool. It's a bit of a, you know, an about time kind of thing for a lot of Zerg players. I'm sure they kind of got a little bit bored of being Sentry Immortal by Protoss players and then, you know, Widowmine and Marine attacks into the 4th base. So I'm sure a lot of Zerg players were quite happy with the removal of this map from the ladder map pool. And we're, you know, of course, impressed by some of the new maps that have been put into Season 1 of the ladder this season. Of course, I made a post over on my Facebook page. If you want to jump over to facebook.com/duckville.casting, you can find out, I made a post about what I have thought so far of some of the new maps and how they, you know, how they seem to work so far. I've only played about 30 games this season, so it's not really too many, but still, you can get some initial thoughts. Post your thoughts as well. Feel free to jump on there on the Facebook page and post some of your own comments or anything like that. Happy to hear from you guys. So Reborn's going to be starting down here. He is going to go for the safe route initially, getting the spawning pool up first. We've got a hatchery following that up as well. Meanwhile, for Minigun, he's going the very open, the very, I suppose, dynamic route of going for a gateway first. A lot of the time, you get to see Protoss players on this map in particular. You did sort of tend to see them go for the Forge and then, you know, the Forge Fast expansion. I completely forgot what it was called there for a second. Kind of a sign of how often you get to see it these days. But this kind of play does give you a lot more options. As you can see, you get to have a lot more tech paths available instead of being sort of locked into setting up your expansion and being prepared for you know, the mid game more so. With this kind of play, with the gateway opening, you can go for a, you know, you can go for a much more aggressive start. You can do some extra gateways inside your main base and try and go for a very quick 3 or a 4 gate just to try and put some pressure on. But of course, you have the options of also going up to the Stargate tech and the Robo tech and just making sure that you do have all those options available, which is really important. So it's really good for Reborn that he did actually get a Ling inside the main base, scouted out what was going on for his opponent. Didn't really see too much because at this stage you're rarely ever going to see what the Protoss is doing, like until they, especially when they're going for this kind of expansion. The only thing that you've kind of, I guess, checked off the list when you scout through here is that, okay, he's not going for some weird kind of 4-gate play. I'm sure some of the more veteran players would remember the old the cancel Nexus 4-gate which was something which we got to see every now and then in Wings of Liberty for a certain period of time until people stopped doing it. But you know, we'll see what Reborn's going to be doing. Got his extra 3rd queen out. Do we have a 4th one? Not just yet, but a lot of people are liking to go up to 5 queens these days. Just as a nice safe number. Gives you a little bit of protection and also gives you a really nice creep spread as well. So as we can see, Reborn is going to have to defend against a couple of units that are coming over. Someone is calling me. Why? There we go. Fix that. Sorry. But he is defending that for the moment, deflects the Mothership Core and the Zealot, so they have backed off for now. Meanwhile, back at home for Minigun, a couple of gateways have gone up. Overlord's going to see all of this, as we can see there, just keeping an eye on what's going on at the front. Has no real sign of what else is going on, but Minigun has picked up an Immortal first. So we are going to have a version of the of the Sentry Immortal play here. And interestingly, as we can see, as another message comes through, these Lings are actually going to scout through here, and Reborn's going to scout exactly what is going on. He's going to, I would suggest he's actually just going to poke around the main base first, but if he can see what unit comes out of this Robo, that would be beautiful for him, because then he can adjust his play for that. There you go, CC Immortal, and he's going to say, alright, we've got some Sentry Immortal stuff coming up from Minigun here today, so we're going to have to make preparations for that. And as we can see, he's completely foregone the third base at the moment. Does have 1-1 on the melee and the carapace upgrades on the way. We've got a macro hatch inside the main just to make sure that he does have the production that he needs to get all the units out that he is going to require to defend this attack, because the Sentry Immortal, of course, is a very, very dangerous attack, and Minigun is preparing it right now. Just adding on one more gate. Where are the extra gates? Are we going to add them in soon? I would think. Yeah, there's another one, so we've got a total of 6. And I would expect we'll see a 7th one as well, but no 8th. Yeah, just sort of keeping it nice and normal here. The probe count, of course, is very low down here at the natural, because he does want to get all of these construction buildings. He wants to get all of the production buildings out as quickly as he can, so that he can start moving across the map with this force. As we can see, he's already starting to make his way out. Now, you got to be very careful with this kind of play. Now, it is of course open to Lings coming in to try and force out some of the force fields if possible. That is actually something which I do suggest that the Zerg players do try and take on board, is to try and move the Lings out and actually try and, you know, bait out those force fields as much as you can, because if you can limit the amount of force fields that the Protoss player has available to them, then that will mean that their push is not as strong. So Reborn's actually got a lot of Lings out right now. They do have their 1-1. He also has a couple of spine crawlers that will be here to defend the front. The infestation pit down the back is going to be set up, and I'm intrigued to see how this will go. Of course, having a lot of 1-1 Lings out is great, but if Minigun adjusts and just gets some more Zealots, yeah, he's going to have quite a powerful force to deal with this. And now a couple of wonderful time warps go down. The force field's a tiny bit slow, but he is able to protect himself in the back there. The Mothership Core forced to head out of the sides for a moment. The Lings, however, are starting to get good traction, picking up some of the Immortals here. In fact, killing off 2 of the Immortals, and that really devastates the attack potential that Minigun has here. So he is going to be he's going to have to sort of load up again. We're going to clear out some of these creep tumors, but for the moment, Reborn has bought himself some time to try and figure out what the next move is from here, and he is going to, well, looks like he's just going to head out. Has a bunch of queens here. We've got 5 queens are actually out here at the front, ready to protect this front door, and he moves in for the surround. Does get a wonderful surround on the units. The force fields will block a couple of them out. However, the force fields are actually they're sort of making it not as much of a good trade here for Minigun. He's going to lose all of these units. We're going to lose every single thing. The only survivor out of this attack is going to be the Mothership Core, which is barely escaping at that. And Reborn does a wonderful job of cleaning up this attack force out the front of his base. Should probably put that hatchery down at the third in a moment, and will prepare for his next phase of the game, which will obviously be, he wants to boost up the drone count. He wants to get out some more, just a couple more support units to make sure that he is protected for the possibility of another attack that comes across from Minigun. But he does have 5 infestors on the way, and with the pathogen glands upgrade done, 2-2 is now coming through as well. Reborn is going to move into a really nice position here, where he has a lot of map control with the, of course, with his overseers just poking about, trying to see what's going on. They find a Twilight Council, and also the Forge down at the back. Blocks that off with a Contaminate, which is really cool. I really wish people would use that a bit more. I think it's a really cool spell. But Minigun's not done yet. He's going to continue to try and put some more harassment on to try and keep himself in a decent position in this game. He does have a worker lead right now, 52-45. Of course, with the slowdown of the third base here, Reborn is going to be in a little bit of a deficit when it comes to workers for a short time, but he will be able to catch up very, very quickly once he establishes map control. Has a lot of vision right now, as we can see, and like, he knows that Minigun has no third base. He has no movement out towards through the sides of the map or anything like that, and as we can see, Minigun's going to be forced to head across here and try and set up this third base. But it is going to be a bit of a troublesome thing to do that, because Reborn can always threaten with these Lings, as we can see. with 2-2 just about done. These guys, despite only being Lings, they are going to be quite annoying to deal with. So they do have their 2-2. The Zealots don't have anything, of course, because the +1 to attack was delayed by that Contaminate. Charge is on the way. Templar Archives is just coming through as well. But for our Zerg player, Reborn, looking to come in here, defending this, deflecting this Warp Prism for a short time, but he's starting to move into a very comfortable position. His +2 to Carapace just about to finish up. Burrow is on the way. We have the Ultralisk Gavin as well, and he's going to have 2-2 Ultras coming out very soon. The small issue that he has is the gas. He's going to have a bit of a hard time getting up all the gas that he needs for that kind of play, but his Infestors, well, they're doing the best that they can, throwing out a Fungal every now and then, blocking off this third base. Again, this is really delaying Minigun, and this means that it's going to be longer before he can actually set out for another push, because at this stage, without any Colossi, without any without the Templar coming out or anything like that, he's going to have a very hard time pushing across the map, because he's going to get locked down by Fungals. He's going to have the issue of all of these very highly upgraded Lings on his back as well, and Reborn is now starting to pick up the extra base down here at the southern left-hand side of the map. Does need to chuck those drones into the gas. I'm a little bit surprised he hasn't put those in already, but normally, like when you make the drones, you sort of rally, you can sort of click them into the extractor and sort of rally them into it, so they automatically go in there. But he's going to get that sorted out shortly, I am sure. Ultralisk Gavin picking up the chitinous plating, so that those Ultras get a little bit more of an upgrade and a little bit more protection out on the field. Just look at that Queen count. He's up to 10 Queens. You can see the real signature of moving into sort of the high level Ultralisk play, adding in the Queens, so that you not only do you have some great creep spread, as we can see here from Reborn, but also so that you have those transfuses available for when you do engage the Protoss player. You want to be able to transfuse the Ultras, keep them alive, and keep them fighting for as long as possible, because these guys, they do some really good damage, of course, with their Kaiser Blades doing 41 with only +2. They'll have 5 armor very soon as well, and that means they just stay out on the field for a long time. They bust down force fields, they can chomp through Zealots and all of these kinds of units. The only real issue that you do have with them is that they can be targeted down, and if they're quickly targeted down by Immortals, they will get absolutely smashed apart, which is where those Queens come into their own with their transfuse. They keep those Ultras alive for longer, meaning that you have a much more efficient investment. So we can see now that Minigun has set up his third base, got some gateways here to protect the base, the cannon, of course, in the side. Would like to see maybe another cannon or two just set up just to make sure he has a little bit more defense there. But Minigun is dropping down some Zealots, getting some harassment done at the third base. Looks as if this single Ultra that is here somehow is going to be in a good position. What the? He sort of turned around and stopped. That was really weird. But he does finally clean all of that up, and Minigun is going to continue to put out some harassment on the map here. Just heading across, he spots that there is a fourth base going up from Reborn, sends a couple of Zealots across, and should be able to cut that one down very quickly. But just looking at the situation here for our Protoss player, +2 to weapons, +3 is on the way, Storm is just about done, and he does have a very nice force of Zealots, of Morals, and Archons. But does he have enough firepower to deal with these Ultralisks that are starting to come out? Because those guys are going to be a big pain in the butt, especially when you get some good Fungals off from those leftover Infestors. But some harassment Zealots now poking in the main base here. Reborn had a little bit of static defense prepared to hold this kind of thing back, but it seems as if it was not enough. Minigun will see that there is that spy there for a possible transition as the game moves on. One Ultra going to come along and should be able to chomp through the rest of these units here to save the day, but Minigun has been able to force a cancel on that fourth base, and we may have a big engagement here as the Ultras move forward. Storm's going down. Wonderful feedbacks on the top of the cliff here. Reborn has a couple of Infestors that are very high on energy. I'm not sure what these guys are up to. One of them's very low, but the main battle will have the Ultras. The transfuses did go down, but now the Queens are basically out of energy at this point. A couple of them very high on energy. There we go. Gets a couple of transfuses in, and it looks as if Minigun could be in a bit of trouble as his Immortals are now being locked down by the Fungal. The Archon down the back, he says, I'm out of here. And one more Fungal from up on high, and Minigun is going to lose these last couple of Immortals, and that could be it here. Like, I mean, oh, there you go. There's a Ultra dancing around, but that will be it here for Minigun in this game between these two great players. Make sure you go and check them both out on Twitter and on their Twitch accounts, and I will see you all next time. Here. As you can see, 47 damage to bio units and then the 34 damage against other standard targets. His storms have also been wonderful, just spreading them out across the battlefield, doing really, really nicely there. And for minigun, he's been sticking with a much more